History is written by the victors, but it is edited by the royals. We're fed stories of fairy tale weddings and picture-perfect rulers, but behind the gilded palace doors there's a secret guide, passed down through the generations, a guide to adultery, treason, and betrayal. These are the stories they fought to keep out of the history books. For a monarch, image isn't just everything, it's the only thing. It's the foundation of their power and the shield that protects their dynasty. So what happens when that image is threatened? When the secrets of the royal bedroom or whispers of a palace coup are about to leak? The answer is simple. You control the story. You hide the evidence, silence the witnesses, and if you have to, you rewrite history itself. This isn't just about avoiding a little embarrassment. This is about survival. The stakes are legitimacy, succession, and the stability of an entire kingdom. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the royal guide to secrecy and uncovering the shocking truths they tried to bury forever. Of all the threats to a royal house, nothing is more primal or more dangerous than a scandal of the flesh. In an age where marriages sealed political alliances and a pure bloodline was everything, adultery wasn't just a personal mistake, it was an act of treason that could bring a kingdom to its knees. Our first story takes us to 14th century France and the court of King Philip the Fair. In 1314, a shocking accusation was made against his three daughters-in-law, Margaret, Blanche, and Joan. The charge? Adultery, supposedly happening in a Parisian guard tower known as the Tour de Nesle, and the accuser was none other than Philip's own daughter, Isabella, the Queen of England. She claimed the princesses were secretly entertaining knights, a betrayal of the highest order. For King Philip, this was a complete catastrophe. Royal marriages were the glue holding European politics together. His sons' wives were supposed to produce legitimate heirs, securing the Capetian dynasty. Adultery poisoned the entire line of succession. The scandal couldn't be swept under the rug, but it had to be controlled. The royal machine moved with terrifying speed. The two accused knights, Gautier and Philippe d'Aunay, were arrested and brutally tortured until they confessed. Their punishment was a gruesome public spectacle, a clear warning to anyone else who might get ideas. While historical accounts vary on the horrific details, they were publicly executed in a manner designed to inflict maximum terror. The princesses, Margaret and Blanche, were found guilty. Their heads were shaved, and they were thrown in prison for life. The third princess, Joan, was acquitted, most likely because her powerful husband stood by her. The scandal was so devastating, it's believed to have contributed to King Philip's death later that year. Worse, the affair created a succession crisis that helped set the stage for the 100 Years' War between England and France. The Tour de Nesle affair is a brutal first lesson from the royal guide. When the bloodline is threatened, the response has to be swift, merciless, and absolute. While adultery was a crime of passion, treason was a crime of ambition. And in the cutthroat world of royal courts, the two were often tangled together on purpose. There's no better story to illustrate this than the fall of Anne Boleyn. When Anne Boleyn failed to give King Henry VIII the son he was obsessed with having, her fate was sealed. That fiery personality the king once found so charming had become a political problem. And more importantly, Henry's eye had already wandered to his next wife, Jane Seymour. But to end the marriage, Henry needed more than a simple divorce. He needed to obliterate Anne's reputation to ensure that any children he had with Jane would be seen as the only legitimate heirs. This is where the king's chief minister, Thomas Cromwell, came in. Cromwell, once Anne's ally, now saw her as an obstacle. He allegedly constructed a case against her, not just for adultery, but for high treason. The charges were breathtaking. Anne was accused of affairs with 5 men, including her own brother, and of plotting to kill the king. The evidence was flimsy at best, built on coerced confessions and twisted words. A casual, flirty comment Anne once made to a courtier about him waiting for dead man's shoes was spun into a sinister plot to assassinate the king. It was a masterclass in political backstabbing. By framing her downfall as a matter of national security, Henry and Cromwell justified what was really a politically motivated execution. Anne was tried and found guilty by a jury that even included her own family members. On May 19, 1536, she was beheaded inside the Tower of London. Just 11 days later, Henry married Jane Seymour. Anne's story became a chilling new chapter in the Royal Guide. If a consort becomes an inconvenience, a scandal can be created. The secret wasn't just hiding the truth, it was inventing a more convenient one. Beyond bedroom politics and court backstabbing lies the darkest chapter of the Royal Guide, covering up criminal acts that could shatter the illusion of divine authority. One grim example comes from 1393 Paris, an event known as the Bal des Ardents, or the Ball of the Burning Men. A masquerade ball was held to entertain the mentally unstable King Charles VI. The king and 5 of his nobles decided it would be a great idea to dress up as wild men, so they put on costumes made of linen soaked in pitch and covered in flammable flax. Open flames were strictly banned from the room. But the king's brother, the Duke of Orleans, showed up late and drunk, carrying a lit torch. A single spark hit one of the dancers. Chaos erupted as the fire leapt from one man to the next. The king was only saved when his 14-year-old aunt threw her skirt over him to smother the flames. 4 of the other nobles burned to death inside their horrifying costumes. The public was absolutely furious. Parisians saw it as final proof of a decadent, reckless court that was completely out of touch. The scandal destroyed what little confidence people had in the king, forcing the court into damage control. To calm everyone down, Charles and his brother had to perform public penance. It was a key lesson. When royal recklessness causes a disaster, you have to manage public outrage immediately before it turns into a full-blown revolt. Centuries later, a different kind of cover-up happened in 1889 at a royal hunting lodge in Mayerling, Austria. Crown Prince Rudolf, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian Empire, was found dead next to his 17-year-old mistress, Baroness Mary Vetsera. The most widely accepted theory today is that it was a murder-suicide. But for the deeply Catholic Habsburg court, that truth was impossible to accept. Suicide was a mortal sin, and a murder-suicide pact involving the heir was an unthinkable stain on the dynasty. The court's first instinct was to lie. The official story was that Rudolf had died of a heart aneurysm. Mary Vetsera's body was smuggled out of the loggia. Uncles propped her corpse up with a broomstick to make it look like she was walking out on her own and she was buried in secret. When the heart attack story fell apart, the court tried a new tactic. They got a special pass from the Vatican, officially declaring that Rudolf had been in a state of mental imbalance. This allowed him to be buried in the imperial crypt. The Mayerling incident threw the line of succession into chaos, which eventually passed to Rudolph's cousin, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, whose own assassination in 1914 would trigger World War I. The cover-up shows the incredible lengths a royal family will go to protect its image, prioritizing reputation over truth, even in the face of tragedy. From scandalous affairs that nearly toppled dynasties to treasonous plots born from pure ambition, royal history is full of secrets they never wanted you to know. Each of these stories is a lesson from a hidden playbook on how to hold onto power and control the narrative at all costs. But for every secret we've uncovered, you have to wonder how many more are still buried in palace archives. What do you think is the biggest royal secret still waiting to be discovered? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to dig into more hidden histories, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. The golden image of royalty, with its grand ceremonies and noble portraits, is a deliberate construction. It's an image built for us, the public, designed to project stability and authority. But as we've seen, behind this perfect facade is a history of calculated secrecy. The methods have changed over time, from public executions to carefully worded press releases, but the goal has always been the same: protect the crown. These scandals show that the real history of royalty isn't just a story of power, but a story of the desperate and often ruthless things people will do to keep it. Because in the world of kings and queens, the truth is rarely as important as the throne,